Sareem, Sat Sri Akal ji, and welcome to the show. If you've just joined us, ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਜੋ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਆ ਜੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਲੋਕ ਪਰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਮੋਰਚਾ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਜੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਅੰਦੋਲਨ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਧਵਾਵਾਂ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਅੱਜ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਮੀਟਰ ਲੱਗਾ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਟੈਕਸੀ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਲੁਕੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਕੋਈ 1 ਪੈਣੀ ਦੇਵੇ ਕੋਈ 10 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਦੇਵੇ ਕੋਈ 10,000 ਦੇਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਜੀ 85,000 ਜੋ ਹੈਗਾ ਪਾਉਂਡ ਹੈਗਾ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਇਹ ਰਣਧੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੀਰ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ MLSS ਜੋ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਕਿ TSB ਤੋਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਨਾਮ ਲੈ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਫ਼ ਆ ਸੁਥਰੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਇਹ ਇਨਾਮ ਲੈ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਕਾਫੀ MPਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪੈਸਾ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਾਇਆ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁਣ we got a lot of people who are messaging us castles they're saying right we need to talk specifically about the laws listen I'm a lawyer main to pata I spent about a month researching the whole project I know everything to do with the laws but before I did that there are people who have been researching this for 2-3 years and ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ and I'm very lucky that Gurpreet ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈਗੇ from Saving Panjab Gurpreet ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ I'm happy to see someone like yourself here because all we usually get in protests and usually when there's a standoff between the citizens and the government are just rumours and apni community vich sanu afwahaं hi mildiyan कि आ हो रहा ये आ फलाना हो रहा very little facts are presented and the ones which are they're usually whitewashed or they're ignored or swept under the carpet I'm glad कि तुसी आके पहला सानू दसो कि Saving Punjab what do you actually do what's your organisation do
So we are a research-based educational organisation. We look at secondary and primary data on the ground to understand the scale and magnitude of the issue and see if it cross-correlates with anything. For example, say we were looking at the amount of pesticides used in Malwa and how that coincides with the amount of cancer issues in Malwa. And there's a correlation between the two.
But there is a connection.
There's a huge connection, and we've done a huge paper on how because Malwa is known as a cotton belt, and the cotton plant takes to 6 to 10 times more pesticides than any other plant. And jehde desi kisan hunde they think lado lai jao they put more pesticides than should be on there.
Oh my God.
That goes into the groundwater, and when they're drinking that water they're drinking this toxic waste which is causing high incidence in cancer.
Right,
so that's just one specific.
Right, so you've explained that.
Yeah.
But in our Punjab, or if I ask my dad or someone like that, or if I ask some uncles at the Gurdwara, they go, nahi, oh, pani ch cancer hai. So I suppose on their way,
they're right.
They're right, yes. Oh, pani ch cancer, but they just haven't explained it like you have.
So Saving Punjab is looking at the issues and looking to work on prevention rather than the cure. Right. So we want to prevent that cancer from being in Punjab in the first place. So understanding where the root of the problem is and tackling it from a root cause. So we've got a few projects at the moment, one of them being the MyPint survey. We launched it in October, and what we're trying to do is, say if I said to you, Hajab, ke dawai khala, and you're not going to be harm kha lama, you're going to pehla mainu bimari ki lagi hai tahi dawa khaunga.
Tahi to emi dawaiyan deyi janda main badda doctor aaya.
Yeah, so you need to know what is wrong with you for me to diagnose you and then prescribe you the drug that you need. You don't take your car to the garage and say cut the teak. You need to know what's wrong with it.
Bhai apne bande kehinde bhai pehla X-ray नहीं दिखाना थानू सानू दवा दस दियो है ना
It's true, but what we need to know is the scale of the problem and where the problem is. सानू पता तो होवे कि कित्थे तक साडा काम पहुंचया पंजाब दे विच. So we designed a MyPint survey, and it's about 10-15 questions, and on that survey it goes through मेरे पिंड दे विच नशे दी problem हैगी या cancer दी problem हैगी, is there migration problem, is there a problem with debt, is there a problem with farmer suicide. So there's all these topics that we're collecting data on. And ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ data ਆ ਗਿਆ ਫਿਰ then we'll have a ਨਕਸ਼ਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣਾ, we'll have a map to say okay,
a true blueprint.
This is where the problems are, this is where the intervention is needed. ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ targeted intervention ਹੋਗੀ, there will be targeted intervention, and the aid that we're giving then or what we give towards it then will be specific to the needs on a pind level, on a personal level, and we'll have a data catch that we haven't been able to contain before, or that we can then take to places like the United Nations and say, "Jehda tusi kende ke pani jaan karke ja cancer badan warke that people are struggling in Punjab." Well, how do we explain that? How do we prove that? And this is that data that can then take that forward.
Right, let's go to the farming process specifically.
Yeah.
Right, what are the 3 laws that are coming in?
Yeah.
Explain it in layman's terms, please, to our public who are there.
Yeah.
And don't get technical. I
will explain it in a nutshell.
What these 3 laws are. In the farmer or is there a bit of both?
Okay, so in terms of the 3 laws, the biggest thing about the 3 laws is this thing called the MSP, which is the minimum support price.
Yeah.
Now, what it is in the sectors that Punjabis have, they have got experience.
Yeah.
The health sector in Punjab wasn't private, it was public.
Yeah.
But there's so many public hospitals that were shut down because privatization took over.
Yeah.
70% of the actual healthcare system in Punjab is private at the moment. And 70% of the people going to private healthcare, do you know, in the whole of India, the most expensive night in a hospital is Punjab is second in the whole of India. Wow. So you can say, people are paying already so much.
If you want to fall ill, don't fall ill in
Not
Punjab.
in Punjab. Yeah, because it's expensive as it is.
Birmingham, ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਬਿਮਾਰੀਆਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਰਮਿੰਘਮ ਚ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਊਥ ਹਾਲ ਈਲਿੰਗ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਉਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਈਲਿੰਗ ਬਣਾਇਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਧਰ ਹੀ ਰਹੋ ਵੁਲਵਰਹੈਂਪਟਨ ਬਰਮਿੰਘਮ they will be best for you. If in Punjab, don't get bamar. Simple is motto.
Punjab itself, for the rich people, that's fine, privatization. But for the Gharib, they can't go to hospital to get a large. But what happened was
they just go to the normal hospital.
So the private sector came in and they controlled it, and now they changed the narrative. The same happened with schools. So the public schools reduced, private schools, most people send their children to education in the private schools. Agriculture, privatization is, they want to privatize the agricultural sector. And the farmers, because they've seen this with so many other examples in Punjab, where the private sector comes in and they take control and they manipulate. Because these farming laws haven't given assurances on the farming bills, they haven't given assurances on MSP, the farmers are like, well, tomorrow the privatization can come in, the agriculture, then they can manipulate the prices however they want, wherever they want, and sadi koi security nahi rahi. We don't have any security.
The reason for the MSP, why the government doesn't want the MSP in, because it loses thousands of crores in the MSP, because it has to buy crop for like 2 rupees and 3 rupees, right? When it should be buying it for 10, Hannah, and then it can't sell it on. It has to throw a lot of that food away because it goes to waste.
Yeah.
So the government have got this board on it, which is just hot potato, Hannah. They just want to get rid of it. But so they're saying to the corporates, take it over. The corporates are rubbing their hands, saying,
exactly
that. And what happens is the mandis will peter out, because the corporates will offer a lovely service like your private hospitals do, right?
Yep.
So, and the mandis will become like a sarkari school, where you get low-rate education, the teachers don't turn up, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you're basically left with the mandis then, with the corporate saying...
Well, they'll shut down, they'll stop. Because they'll say, Sada kam nahi chalda, we don't want to keep the
And will this result in a corporate monopoly?
It will.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem when it comes to... I mean, if you look at Punjab itself, Punjab is around 50,000 square kilometers, 50,632 to be, in fact.
You're the research guy, not me.
So square kilometers wise, if we look at the kind of geographical area of Punjab, is 1.5% of India. It's tiny. The northern state is small.
Yeah.
If you compare Punjab's geographical area to other countries, Yemen, if you look at Yemen, if you look at Costa Rica, Costa Rica is about 51,000 square kilometers. But if you look at the population in Punjab is about 27 million, 27.9, actually 28 million is 27.9 million. And if you look at the population is like the size of Nepal. So Nepal has a population of about 28 million.
Okay.
So if you look
at a small country.
Yeah, it's like a small country. Nepal has, it's like the population of Nepal, like Yemen. Yeah. And it's, when you're talking about we're going to save Punjab or we're looking at the issues in Punjab, it's like we're saying we're going to look after the whole of Nepal. And for that, you need to know the scale and the magnitude of the problem. And you need to think, okay, it's huge. And it's not just agriculture. I mean, I talk about this a lot. If they take back the MSP, or they give us the MSP, they take back the black laws. When we come back to Punjab as a farmers, in Punjab, what's going to happen in 10 years? What's going to happen in 15 years? I'm not saying this. Experts like NASA, experts are saying that Punjab da pani muk jana hai. It's going to become a desert in 10 to 15 years because the groundwater has reduced so much that there's no pani left in Punjab.
But isn't the fact this, yeah, that even the current laws under which farmers are doing by, they're not in favour of the farmer. There is no infrastructure for the whole farming thing,
there
right?
isn't.
There isn't. So I've been saying this for the last 4 weeks. I've been saying, listen, what's happening is, Punjab wale is saying we don't want the new canoons because what you're doing is you're replacing the RTA with corporations.
Exactly.
Yeah? You're not making a benefit, you're giving a control to the
The
corporations.
RTA system doesn't work anyway.
Right. But the RTA system doesn't benefit the farmers anyway because if the RTA makes 180 rupees, he keeps 80 of it, and out of that, on wajah karda 6 mahine the only benefit for a farmer for an RTA is he can grab money udar off him, marry his daughter off, or send his kid abroad.
But then the interest rates are what's causing the farmer suicides.
Right.
And I mean, for those people that don't understand exactly how it's working, it's like an agriculture card. Or card de utte paise dinde a. On that card, they get their diesel, they get their seeds, they get their sara kuch utto hi lende.
It's like Amazon.
It's like Amazon.
It's like Amazon, except for Amazon charge you 5-10%, and RTA might be charging 80%. And RTA should be charging between 5 and 7%.
It should be,
And these corporations are saying,
it's
right,
the middleman.
they're looking at the 80% and going, right, we'll have some of that.
Now,
and so we will have a bit of that action. But the fact is, even the current system, it just needs knocking down and rebuilding again.
So I've been invited onto the show to talk about facts. And one thing specifically, the organizations, thanks to them, they asked me to talk about the suicides in Punjab.
Please.
Yeah, please. So studies by the Punjab government showed that the amount of suicides from 2000 to 2015 were around 3,000. But
in Punjab?
In Punjab. But this figure is what the government showed us.
So we're not sure about the accuracy of it.
No, well, the universities of Punjab, the Punjab Agriculture University, did their own study. And their findings from 2000 to 2015, there were 16,606 suicides. So
it's about thoda fark hai yaar. 9-10 da 19-20 da fark hai yaar. So tu indi baddi gal banati.
So if you look
at 13,000 extra
difference.
Suicides from what the government are saying. And I think that's just Punjab. So nationwide,
nationwide is huge. Just in 2019 alone,
just
in 2019 alone, the government actual figures of suicides in India was 10,000. Just in 2019.
What compels a farmer to suicide from your research?
94% of the suicides are linked to debt.
Wow.
So it's all to do with that karja. It's to do with how we, like what we were saying in terms of the interest rates and everything that goes into it. Now, karja itself in Punjab is, for us, it's not huge. It might be £500, £1,000. But for them, they think
it's not huge. But
for them, it is. It's huge. But we need to think about, rather than putting a band-aid on a broken leg. So if we send them some money now, we need to think about a long-term sustainable solution that says, rather than us giving them that just money now, this infrastructure is still wrong, everything's still out of place there. We need to think about long-term kind of sustainable solutions like vertical farming, like crop cultivation, like giving them infrastructure, like we make them more organic. We give them a rain gun so that they're using less water. We talk about rainwater conservation so that the water that they're not using gets conserved and recharges the groundwater. There's so many solutions that we need to research. Academics need to come together. We're doing this at the moment to give them a model that they could take and run with that in the future. And 10, 15 years time down, when they're not growing the crops that the government wants them to grow. They're not growing jawar, wheat and rice. They're growing haldi or they're growing organic other substances that there is a market for, but we're creating that market for them, and that's kind of infrastructure we need to build for them.
But the government hasn't offered to rebuild an infrastructure as a solution.
No,
all it's done is just replace one Amazon with another.
One problem with another problem, basically.
With another Amazon. Yeah. Right. It's really important that you understand this, because this is the realist thing you're going to listen to all evening. I like this guy because he's on the ground level telling you as it is. He's saying, listen, even if the farmers, they say, well, take back these laws, the current situation isn't the best situation for them anyway. It's the situation that's driving them to suicide.
I like to explain it like a web. So you've got, one issue in Punjab,
Yeah.
it relates to another issue.
Yeah.
If I'm struggling with drugs, that's usually because there's some kind of mental deprivation, there's some kind of, depression or something that I'm taking them drugs. That links back to something else, maybe to do with debt.
Hanji.
So ek jaal to fas ke duje jaal to fas jande hain. If I've got money that I'm in debt, that means I can't pay for my medical bills. That means I've got health problems. That means I'm depressed as well. That means I might go to drugs to make myself feel better. So one thing is they're all interlinked.
It's like a chain.
Yeah, it's a huge chain. And when you fall into that web, you're affected. 70% of Punjab's youth addicted to drugs. The land of 5 rivers. How crazy is that? The land of 5 rivers is said to be a desert in the next 15 to 20 years.
And because of cancerous water.
And the pani jada reh bhi gaya, oh bhi peen jogga nahi reha. Where there used to be the 6 foot Gabru Punjab, they kende sige desh de rakhe, that used to secure 75% of them are saying to be addicted to some kind of drugs. I was reading statistics this morning that the Punjab health minister doesn't accept feme or alcohol as being an intoxicant. So I mean, this is the kind of or thodi bodi pee liya karo. There's more sharab they take in Punjab than there is primary schools. So you can understand the kind of situation we're in at the moment. Agriculture is one sector of it, but you're talking about so many issues.
Let me tell you the irony. Apne Punjabiyan di irony. है ना? ਆਪਾਂ ਟੂਰਨਾਮੈਂਟ ਕਰੀਦੇ ਕਬੱਡੀ ਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੰਜ਼ੰਪਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਵਿਕਦੀ ਆ ਟੂਰਨਾਮੈਂਟ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਯੂਕੇ 'ਚ ਹੋਵੇ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਹੋਵੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸਿਓ ਲਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਜਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਤੀਜੇ ਜਾਲ
ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਲਵਾ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਕਾਹਤੇ ਭੱਜਣ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਆ
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੁਝ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ
and this is what we need to come to and the problem is and it's kind of a vicious cycle you can say they are leaving because there's nothing there for them and the people that are leaving there is a muscle drain there's a brain drain and those educated people that were supposed to stay there and create that infrastructure or be the future of Punjab if they're leaving then Punjab 'ਚ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ
ਭਾਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੇਰਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ 15 ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ 3-4 ਘੰਟਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ so thank you very much and you can go onto their websites and you can go and check them out on Facebook Instagram listen educate yourselves the answer is education this guy is the supplier of that educate yourselves we'll see you after this reel